York City. Oh, what am I doing in New York City? I came here for an indie movie. It's an Orthodox movie, and it's about this type of saint in the Orthodox Church called the Fool for Christ. I literally came up here just for this. I got in last night, and I'm heading to the bus stop to go home right now. But while I was here, I got the opportunity to hang out with one of my college roommates and her husband. And oh my god, husband is so weird because they were dating when we were in undergrad. So it's like now I'm going to their home and they're married. So strange. I remember when he used to come to our place and just like chill. Good time. That was the best year of college. I think for like all of us, it was so much fun. Anyways, that's why I'm in the city, but I just love being in the city. I could have taken the subway to go to my stop, but I was like, let me just walk. Like, it's nighttime. I'm in New York. I'm not sure when the next time is I'm going to be back, which is so funny because I was actually here 3 weeks ago. And I want to visit more often because I genuinely just really enjoy being here. I really like cities. Like, I love being in DC whenever I can. But I just love the energy of New York. Like, I'm looking around at all the buildings and advertisements. And there's so many, like, the city is huge. It's like, and I'm just talking about Manhattan. Manhattan itself is huge. The whole place is so big.
Were you in a costume? No, we were in high school.
Anyways, I don't really have something specific that I want to talk about. I'm trying to tell myself, like, not to plan content necessarily and just get on here and record, like, thoughts that I want to share, like how I used to when I wasn't recording for the public. So, there are two things on my mind. I can talk about the movie, which I'll probably spend more time talking about, and I could talk about ontology, which I've spent a lot of time thinking and like researching into since I made my truth video sometime last week. Because I really want to like flesh out this idea that like truth is functional and this whole ontology about like what makes a thing, or how do we know what something exactly is, because I think that's probably the fundamental. I think ontology is the project of making truth makes. So let me talk about the movie first. So I thought the movie was interesting. It's one of those movies where it's like I have to watch it again and again and again. I think that makes it a good movie. Well, they call it's cinema, so it doesn't really have like a set plot, which I like things that are artistic and have creative license to them, and they're conveying a message and not necessarily like trying to tell a story. I love stories and I love well-told stories, but I just feel like the movie industry is very it's become very utter when it comes to telling stories. So there's specific types of stories I like being told, and a specific type of like way to tell a story, but I like things like this. It's like trying to convey a message but not in the traditional way. So I enjoyed that. Basically the whole premise of it is it's following life on a monastery for these select few monks at this particular monastery in Texas, Orthodox monastery. And the Fool for Christ is a type of saint in the Orthodox Church that I haven't looked into it too much, so I looked into it a little bit to watch this movie, so don't take my word for it. But based on my understanding, it's a type of saint in the Orthodox Church who basically like takes a vow of like foolishness. And typically from what I've read, it's raining. Oh, that's lovely. Typically from what I've read is they're a saint that has I don't like the word powers, but they have certain graces from the Holy Spirit, what we in charismatic circles might call certain gifts of the Spirit, and they use this vow of foolishness to kind of like not hide like themselves from it, but not to draw attention to themselves, or not to make people think that they're some like kind of holy person. And I think it is like in a way like self-humbling thing to do. But there were just like so many different, like, again, I have to watch it again and again because the way that it's shot, it's like the way because the producers of the show were there, not show, the movie were there, and I almost had my streak. Okay. The producers of the movie were there, so one thing that they said at the beginning before they started is there's no narrative, we're just showing vignettes of the lives of these monks, and that's different like scenes throughout the movie, although all of them were connected. Like I don't think any scene necessarily stood alone. I think they all were connected to another scene, even if it wasn't in sequential order. And so there was like certain, they were saying this like afterwards, like certain scenes might connect with you more than others. Like if you went to a gallery, certain pieces might connect with you more than others. And there definitely were some that connected with me more. I think one thing is also I was tired because I ate earlier, but I didn't eat enough meat. When I don't have enough protein, I get really tired. So I was kind of tired throughout the movie, so I wasn't paying too much attention. But I know it was good, and I enjoyed it. And there were parts where I was like on the edge of my seat, so to say, just because I was really drawn into like what was happening. But I think the thing that I really appreciated about it, and they talked about this like Q&A afterwards, was this whole thing that we're all struggling. And I think that part like really stood out to me. This is 37. This is okay. It's across the street. That part really stood out to me. Like, yeah, we're all struggling because you see each of these monks struggling in a different way. But you see them struggling, but you also see like their quote unquote good sides as well, and things that you would, I guess, expect from someone that's a monk or someone that's a holy person. And I think that's one thing I appreciate about Orthodoxy versus like some of the traditions that I've come from, is the struggle is right at the center with everything else. I think especially like I want to read more of the lives of the saints and like certain mystics and ascetics, because that's kind of how I would like to practice my faith in general, but if I decide to join Orthodoxy as an Orthodox Christian. And one thing I love about the ascetic life is the centrality of the struggle. The struggle is at the very center of it. You can't escape it. That's the whole point. Intentionally putting yourself in positions to struggle, whether that's fasting, vows of celibacy or chastity, doing labor, but then also that outward struggle, signifying and also preparing you for the inward struggle that you're going to go through, and being aware of all the ways in which you need to be refined and made whole by the Trinity. And that's like just a constant like process. And that was another thing that I appreciated in the film, is the quote unquote main character, but the one who was deemed the fool for Christ. You see him struggle, and you see like certain things that he has to face because he's reached a certain level of sanctification, as we would call it, or in his salvation journey, he's reached a certain level where it's like, okay, now that you're at this level, there's more struggle. Essentially, there are new things for you to fight within yourself. There are new things for you to work out, and I think it just like communicates to me that like it really is a never-ending process of growing more into the likeness of God. I think it's really interesting because I haven't read the lives of the saints, but when we think about the saints, we can think about these people that are like complete in their journey of salvation. And I think that's like what's typically talked about. I need to do my research, but complete in their journey of salvation, when they died, they were having no struggles. They perfectly lived out what it means to be to reach theosis. And I appreciated that they showed like this person struggling, and I think the thing that I said, like new levels of sanctity mean new levels of struggling, and this idea that we are ever going to be growing more into the likeness of God, and growing requires struggle, requires fighting within yourself, because the core part of the Orthodox faith is participation in the salvation process, participation in becoming more like Jesus. And if you're going to go to more levels, you have to participate in that, and part of that participation is found in the struggle. Okay, what were some other things that so he did this bit where the other monks so he was the abbot, which is like the head monk of the gang, but the other monks, like in the morning, they would have to do like a morning prayer or like blessings for breakfast and stuff like that. And since he's the abbot, they need him to kind of like get things going and start things off. And it was just really funny because they would go and like look for him, and sometimes he would be laying out in the field acting like he's dead, and then he'd be like, I forget what the line was, I need to find it because it was my favorite line of the whole movie, but today I rise. And it's like he's reenacting, like, it made me think about how every day that we wake up is like a reenactment of the rest of the crucifixion and the resurrection. Like every night that we go to sleep, we are entering into death. Sleep, the present of death, but we're entering into death, and every morning when we wake up, we are rising again anew. And I think like things like that just help me think about the gospel and just like my everyday experience of life. I'm pretty sure if I did the prayers, like evening and morning prayers, because I just do morning, but I'm pretty sure if I did both, I'd probably like see that in there. Okay, I'm at my bus stop. I think I'm gonna stand a little bit farther down so I can keep recording if I want to. But yeah, it really made me think that yeah, every night we go to sleep, we are a microcosm participating in the crucifixion of Christ. And every day when we rise, today I rise, we are participating in his resurrection. I think it's just like an awareness of this constant like death and rebirth that we go through in our lives as human beings, but I think especially as people that are trying to be formed into the image of Christ. This constant awareness of this death and rebirth that we go through. And that was one thing he was talking about. So on monasteries, they keep the skulls of all the monks from the monastery that had passed. So in one of the scenes, he was in a room with another monk, and he opened the cabinet where some of the skulls are, and I think there were two of them. Two of them were asking, they're like, "What are you doing?" He's like, "Making room," and they're like, "For who?" Making room for who? And he was like, and then he pointed to his head. He was like, those who constantly think about death. And then I forgot like the second part of it that he said. But yeah, something about like those who constantly think about death, like don't easily fall into sin or something like that. And I was reflecting on my own life because I'm constantly, I don't think there's a day that goes by where I'm not thinking about death. Not necessarily that I want to die, but there are some days where that comes, but just about death, especially since 2016, that's the year that my younger cousins died. So ever since then, death has constantly been on my mind, and I've gotten very familiar with death in thought, not in my real life. There haven't been that many people in my life that have died. But in my head, I've gotten very familiar with death, and I think one thing like for me is sometimes death can feel very overwhelming just because it's like, oh, this life comes to an end and then I can spiral into nihilism. But I think something that I've really come to appreciate in the past year is that, oh, my bus is here. Okay. Something I've come to appreciate in the past year is that the gospel is the gospel because Jesus defeated death and he rose. Basically is giving us a foreshadow of what we are going to experience, which again is such a crazy thing to like actually say that you believe. It's a crazy thing to actually say that you believe, but it gives so much more purpose to life, and the thing that seems to be the kryptonite of life, which is death. And yeah, so I was just thinking about like that line that he said, those who constantly think about death, and like what thinking about death and like the transience of life and the futility of it all has done for me. I don't know if I have my full thoughts on that form, but yeah, these are just some preliminary thoughts on the film. And hopefully it comes out like on streaming somewhere so I can rewatch it over and over and over and over again. I'm really glad to start learning more about the lives of the saints. It's something that I've been wanting to do, but hopefully this gives me a push to actually do more. Okay, I'm gonna get on this bus.